All right, welcome everyone. So last week we did a video on introduction to basic trading that was done by our admin Jay. Really great stuff in that video. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you go check that out. Jay will probably be doing a video each week on the introduction to trading, just trading basics type stuff. And this week he wasn't able to do that, so I figured I would jump in and really go back and touch base on the very basics of trading and understanding just the chart in general, and understanding candlesticks, and understanding how those candles play a role in understanding what we should be doing in the market. And so if you are new to the channel here, I highly recommend you stick around. If you aren't new to the channel and you feel like you already understand this stuff, I still recommend you stick around and see if maybe you learn something new and get a different perspective. So we're looking at the chart here, and if I zoom back here so that way it's not so crunched in, you can see that we have a basic price chart here. This is a crypto chart here, and so this is Cardano versus the USD, or ADA versus USD. And so what we're looking at here are individual candles, and these candles are specific to time frames. And so this is the 1 minute time frame. So each one of these candles represent 1 minute of price action and what price did during that time. We'll specifically start looking at this candle right here. So first off, we have green candles and we have red candles. Those colors will determine whether or not this candle opened and closed above the open price, or if it opened and closed below the open price. And so the first thing that we have is the open of the candle. And so in this particular case, because the candle is green, the candle did open and close above. If we hover over the candle, we can see our coordinates right here in these numbers. It tells us the open, it tells us the high, the low, and the close of the candle. And so if I hover above that candle right there, we can see that the open was at 0.5880000, whatever. And so that tells us where the open of this candle was. And in that particular case, the open of the candle was right here. And so this is where the candle opened. Now, during that time, once the candle opened, during the 1 minute time, the 1 minute life of this candle, what we got was these wicks here. Let me zoom in just a tad bit more, a little bit hard to see, but you can see these black lines here are the wicks of the candle. And so we have a wick here above right there, and then we have a wick down below like that there. And so what we have is the wicks, they note the very high of where price action went during this 1 minute time, and the very low of where price action went during this time. And so the highest price went during this 1 minute was at the top of this wick here. And the lowest that price action went, or price went during that 1 minute time, was right there. And so the candle opened right here. It at some point pushed down to the 0.5873 area. And again, we can see our low, we can see our high. So if we hover over it, looks like the lowest point it went was 58750000. And the highest that it went was 58930000. So the candle opened, it at some point pushed down to that the 5875, and then at some point it pushed up to the 5893, and then it came down and eventually closed up a little bit more than where it opened for a green candle right there at the close. And so we opened at 58 580000, and we closed at 5884, and so we had a gain. So price went up in this particular case in that 1 minute, just ever so slightly. And the same thing with the red candles. And so if we take a look at this red candle right here, we have all the same exact things, except in this case it closed lower than where it opened. And so we have the open right here of this candle, and if we hover over it, we can see that it opened at 58760000, and then we have the close of the candle right here. We have the low of the candle right there, and we have the high of the candle right there. And so that gives us all the information that we need to know about what happened during that 1 minute period of time. So let's go ahead and take a look at live price action just to get an idea of exactly how this plays out. So let's go ahead and take a look here. We are actually 1 minute in, or a few seconds into this 1 minute candle right here. And so let's just sit here and take a minute and look at what's going on. So price on this candle opened right here is where this 1 minute candle opened. It doesn't have an upper wick or an upper shadow, and so it has not pushed any higher than the open, and it is now pushing down. And you see as it pushes down and price then goes back up, so as we have that battle between the buyers and the sellers, we get price that pushes down and then it gets bought up, and then it pushes back down again as people are selling, and then it gets bought up. And that is how this candle is dropping and going back up. Now we're going to open a new candle right here. So this is our open right here of this candle, this new candle right there. And you see for just a moment it went green, which means that it went up from the open. Then for just a moment it went down, which means that it went lower than the open. Now we are going to push down a little bit, and price is pushing down lower than what it did in the last candle. And this is a good sign that we had a nice big red candle here. This candle opened and immediately started to push down. It did go up green for just a moment, but is now pushing down lower than this candle right here. And so right now it appears that during this 1 minute that the sellers are in control of this candle, and they are pushing it lower and lower and lower. Now it's getting bought up, of course, because there are buyers who are buying as it goes down because they think that it's going to eventually go up higher and higher and higher. But then there are also buyers who think it's going to go lower and lower and lower. And so as it comes up with buyers grabbing it, it's getting pushed down even farther. Now we get this nice pin bar here in this particular case, telling us that there was kind of a struggle between the buyers and the sellers to figure out where price is going to go. And this continues to happen this way, regardless of whether you're on a 1 minute or you're on a 5 minute. Here's a 5 minute. You see that's moving the same. And you can see that if we went to a 30 minute, you can see that it is also moving. In each of these time frames and each of these candles give us an idea of what price is doing. So that's the basics of how a candle works, the time frames, and kind of what to look for as far as the candle itself and what exactly it is kind of showing you. Now let's go ahead and take a look at a little bit more practical way of putting this information to use. So let's go ahead and jump over to the S&P 500, just because there was a really good day yesterday. Well, this would have been on Friday. This was Friday here, and this was a really good example of how we can look at price action and what it's doing. And this is the basics. So what we're looking at right now is the basics of how price moves in a particular trend. So what we're looking for is we're looking for price action and candles to tell us what way the market is going to go. And it does that by creating kind of a series of steps. And so the market rarely does the market go just straight up, or rarely does the market go just straight down. well, it never goes straight up or straight down. Maybe in some particular cases you may see a spike in one direction, but eventually it's going to start stair stepping. And so you're going to get these instances where you get a step up and then a step down and then a step up and then a step down and then a step up type deal. And this is kind of how price action works. This is how price moves. It never goes in a straight line. And so the idea is to allow price action to kind of tell you what it's going to do and how it's going to move and where it might be going. This is a trade that I actually took using some basic options in a small account. You can check that out on the other videos. I have a small account challenge that I'm doing, and I also post all this information in our Discord, our Patreon only Discord. So if you are interested in joining our Patreon only Discord, here there's a link down in the description to join our Patreon. Some really great stuff, and this information is very valuable because it can turn you into a really good trader. So Sasquatch here is one of our members, one of our patrons, and part of the Patreon only channel. Does some really great analysis. Now, of course, Sasquatch uses some other information, but mainly what Sasquatch is doing is reading price action and understanding what price action is doing, and allowing that to kind of determine the overall trend and momentum, or where they should be taking trades one way or another. And they're doing this by understanding where price is moving, how it's creating higher highs and higher lows, or lower lows and lower highs, and so on. And so, for example, again, what we're looking for is how price is moving with these candles. And so you can see here that in this particular case, what we had was consolidation right here first thing in the morning. Again, this was a trade that I took, and overall this trade moved 67%. I think it was actually up in the 70s by the time it was all said and done. An amazing move that it took here on some really basic calls for a really low amount. I think altogether it was in about $600 there, or something along those lines for those particular calls. Oh, here's a screenshot of the small account that I'm currently growing and working with. And so the morning opened here, and you can see that we kind of just bounced around without much movement in the market. And then you can see here that we got a spike to the upside, and we spiked above this area right here. And that's what we call a breakout. And so price broke out right there, and as price broke out right there, it then retraced back into this area. And so we often see a break and then a pullback into where that area kind of broke out. And then what we're looking for is another break even higher, and then a slight pullback, and then a break even higher. And as you see, price did that pretty much all day long. Now, we got a few instances where price kind of broke and kind of retraced and did weird things, but all in all, you can see all day long we get this move. And if I turn on an indicator here, it will actually give me a little bit better idea of how this price was stepping and moving. And so I'm going to turn on this higher high and lower low indicator right here. And as you can see, it gives me those lines here instead of me having to actually draw them out. And if I go in and I turn off the price action there, all of a sudden things become a little bit clearer on exactly how price moves. And so if you can see, what we were getting was a series of higher highs and moves to higher lows. And so we get a push up, which is a higher high. So for example, we come up here, right here, and we close this area right here higher than we did the previous high, which is a higher high. We get a pullback and it creates a low right here. So that's not a wonderful example, but it still sustained and didn't break below this area moving down. And so as it pushes up, we create another high right here. Then we come down and we create a higher low. And so we created a low, price came down lower, but it stayed higher than it did the previous low, creating a higher low. Then we broke up and we created a higher high. So this high here was higher than this high here, creating a higher high. Then we came down and created another higher low, and we continued this pattern up and up and up, stair stepping all the way up to the end of the day. This was an amazing trade right here. So how can we practically use this information? Well, this information will tell us when we can spot trend and when we can spot the reversal in the trend, which is what we're really looking for. We're trying to determine when price is switching trend direction. That can be valuable because then you're trying to get in at the best possible time to then ride out price and make as much money as you can. And price will kind of tell you as this is taking place. And so let's go and take a look right here, for example. So what we have here is a really nice push to the upside. We have a little bit of movement within this push, but for the most part, we're pushing pretty straight up right here. And as we're pushing pretty straight up right here, this indicator is following along, telling us that we're making highs and highs and highs and highs. Right here, you can see that now it's starting to say that we're making a higher low, and it's following along right there as price is moving, saying that now we're making higher lows, which means that we're breaking below these areas right here with price actions. We're kind of pulling down into this area. The indicator is notating that as it's going along. And as it's going along, now you can see it's starting to say lower high. So it's starting to track here and say that maybe we're going to start pushing back up right here. And as we push up, what we are looking for in this instance is we would be looking for price to come up, pull back, and then break above this high right here to continue to go upwards like we saw on yesterday, the previous day that we were just looking at. But what we're trying to spot here is if we get a reversal in trend, and that will come by looking for when we get a break of a higher low and we start to create lower highs and lower lows. So now you can see that we have a lower high here. We haven't broke above this area. Now we need price to break above that area for the high, for the uptrend to continue. Let's go ahead and continue to play it forward and see what happens. Well, you can see here that's now starting to say we're creating a higher low. So as long as it stays above this area right here, then we're still in an uptrend. If it breaks and closes below this area right here, then we're starting to shift the trend direction. So we've come up, we weren't able to go higher, and then we're now going lower. So let's go ahead and continue to play this forward. There's our break right there and our close. So now we've broke this area of support right here. Let's go ahead and play it forward a little bit, and now you can see that it's saying we're creating new lows right here. Now what we're looking for is we're looking for price to come up. Actually leave that on right there. Looking for price to come up, come back to this area right here, this line, and then continue down. And that will be our sign that we are now in a downtrend. So we're going to come up right here. Price has come up, it has touched that area right there. Let me zoom in a little bit closer here. Tad bit easier to see. Just trying to get everything in frame. So we've pushed up, we've come down, we've made a lower high right here, not a higher high. We've pushed down, we've made a new low, we've pulled back to this area, and now we're starting to reject that area. And so now this is confirming that we are now pushing into a downtrend. And so as price pushes and breaks right there, that would be a good time to get into a position and put our stop somewhere above this area. Let's go ahead and keep pushing down, and you can see that price comes down, starts to retest this area, but would stay. We're looking for price to stay below this line here. It's kind of the line in the sand. And as it pushes down, you can see that price now takes a really nice push all the way down right there. So let's go ahead and keep playing this forward and watching what we're doing here. So now we're creating lower lows. You can see LL. So we're creating lower lows now. And what we're looking for is for it to create a lower high. Now we've got a lower high right there, confirming that we're still in a downtrend. Now we're creating lower lows again right here, and we're just kind of following along price action. Lower highs being created right here, where we don't want price to break above that area of resistance right there. We want it to stay below that. And so go ahead and continue to play it forward, and you see it came up, and now it's rejecting that area. Now, if you look, we're actually starting to create a higher low right here. Now, this could be concerning because if it continues to maintain this higher low, then we may be in a switch of trend right here. So let's go ahead and play it forward a little more, see what it does. Higher low still there. All right, we created a lower low. We're out of the woods. We can breathe a little bit. Let's go ahead and continue to play it forward. It's lower highs right there, so we're still in a good place. What we don't want is we don't want a higher low to form. So that means that a higher low, so it comes here, it isn't able to break below the last area, the last lower low, and it will create a higher low. So it comes down, and instead of going lower, instead of coming down and going lower, what it does is it stops right here. It then pushes up here, and then isn't able to push down lower, and in a lot of cases it will then push higher right here and be a good kind of determination or a good predictor of price moving against the current trend. So let's go ahead and keep playing it forward here. Higher lows. Oh, so now we've started to create this higher low right here. Now we would want price to now continue to break this level. If it doesn't, then we're looking for price to now break this level right here. And if it's created a higher low, breaks this lower high, and starts to come up right here, then we're looking for the retrace and move up from there. Let's go ahead and continue to play it forward. Moving along right now, kind of in consolidation. Oh, now you see what happened right there. So we got the higher lows officially established because now we have broken above this lower high right here. And now what we're looking for is price to come back into this area, this purple line, and then continue up from there. And this is a sign that price is now going to move higher up into this area. Where exactly, we're not 100% sure, but it definitely looked like from here we're going to go higher. Now we may not always get the pullback into this area right here. That's important to remember. Sometimes price just changes direction and shoots off, takes off without you, and that's okay. Happens sometimes. You're not going to catch 100% of every move. Let's go ahead and play it forward. So you see that price is now pulled back into this area. So now we're looking for a rejection of that area, and we're looking for price to continue right there. You see that we get that rejection, and now price is going to continue to move up from there. We've created another higher low, we've established a new high, and now we're pushing up from here. Let's see where price goes. Go ahead and play us forward a little bit more. You can see that it kind of stalled out there a little bit. It's now come back and retraced into this area. It's not really sure where it wants to go at this point because you got that battle between buyers and sellers pushing price around. And now we get that eventual push to the upside there that we were looking for. And now we continue the same pattern over again. We've established higher highs. We're looking for higher lows to continue up, creating higher highs. If it now starts to break beyond these areas of support and resistance, beyond this area here, and starts to create the lower lows, lower highs, then that's when we are going to be looking for price to then reverse itself. So now you see that we're starting to break below that area. We're still kind of okay as long as it stayed above this area here. That's kind of the line in the sand again that we're looking for. If it breaks below that area, that's when we would really be concerned, looking for it to establish a new downtrend. And as it moves along, we start to break now, creating new lows right here. And we repeat the process over and over, watching as price moves along. And so that's how we use price action to kind of determine where price is going and where it wants to move, and how we can use that to our advantage to find out where we're going to be taking trades and where we can jump into trends as early as possible. Again, this is amazing information, and it is extremely useful when you are doing analysis on the market to understand the structure of price and where it's going. We have a couple of traders, Sasquatch and Jay here, that do almost just nothing but reading price action and understanding how it's going to move and where the market's going to go from there, and they are extremely successful using those. Now, again, you can use indicators to help kind of support that reading of the chart and support what price is doing, to then give you a better idea, or what we call confluence between the two, to really lock in what direction you think price is going to go in. Now, you'll never be 100% right all the time, and that's okay. The idea is to be right more often and have your wins be more than your losing trades. And so I hope this is helpful. I hope this gives you a very basic understanding of where to start with trading and understanding price and price action, and how you can put that to use right now in your trading if you're not using it already, or if again you're a brand new trader. So that's it. I'm going to call it here. Sorry this video was so long. Wanted it to be a little bit shorter, but I thought this was very useful information that everybody needed to see, and see it live in action and actually taking place. So all right, we will see you on the next video.